I'm going to go ahead and start recording.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kathleen. I'm here with Faber-Castell, and today we're going to go over rock painting with oil pastels. And I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera.
And while Kathleen switches her camera, my name's Krista. I'm also with Faber-Castell. And if you have any questions today during the session, you can post those in the chat. My name in the chat is Ask Me Questions, and I will be happy to respond to those.
Okay, so I have some rocks that I already primed. I have some bare rocks, and I'm going to go ahead and gesso some of these. I'm going to show you the gesso that I have. This is the white gesso, the artist loft that they have at Michael's. This stuff is awesome. And I'm just gonna gesso one so you guys can see how I gesso it. And then I'm gonna start coloring because this might take a second to dry. And if you guys have ever painted rocks before, you know that it's nice to have a flat one. Not always possible to find them, but as long as they're smooth and don't have too many like points poking out or something, you know, pretty even texture. And we're gonna gesso this so that when we color over it with the oil pastels, the color from the pastels are gonna be really bright and it's gonna look really nice on the rock. Because otherwise you're coloring on top of the rock color and they won't be as bright. So you really just need one coat of gesso, something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect since we're gonna color over it. Now I just did it in a circle on the top. You can cover the whole rock if you want. But I find that this is faster. And I like having just that area focused on painting. So just like that, and I use just a regular medium-sized brush. That's what it looks like. I'll do another one since you guys are painting along. This one's a little bigger. So we're going to go over a couple of different techniques on how to use your oil pastels today. I'm going to show you how to use some mineral spirits or oil thinner to turn your oil pastels almost into a paint. So that'll thin it out and make it more like a watercolor wash. And then also blending with our paper blenders, and then we can also try some Sgraffito, which is just coloring and then putting black on top and then scraping away. So like, and then I'm going to go into coloring. So the first technique I'm going to use is with the mineral spirits, and I'll show you what I have. I have this one. This is mineral spirits. You can also use something like this that's oil thinner. They're pretty similar, and they both work just the same. So I'm going to take my pencil and go ahead and kind of sketch out the design I'm going to do. I'm going to do this one, something close to this one first. This is like a sunset kind of with the water. And I'm really just drawing like my horizon line. I'm going to pick a spot, do just a little line. I kind of know where I want to. Can you guys see that? Just a line. That's better.
Kathleen, what did you use in conjunction with the oil, with the thinner?
We're gonna use the oil thinner. You can use either oil thinner or mineral spirits. Are both very similar. And we're gonna use that to thin out the oil pastels. So here's my oil pastels. And I'm gonna draw on this. So I'm just drawing directly over the gessoed area. And I'm gonna do it in like kind of a order. So I'm using yellow first and then going to a pink. So we're gonna make a gradient and we're gonna blend it all together. So I went from yellow to pink, and then I'm gonna do purple. And I'm gonna stop at the horizon line with purple. So we're just coloring, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna put the mineral spirits on top of this. So you don't have to blend too much. You can see what it kind of looks like. Looks like an Easter egg almost. And so I poured some mineral spirits into my cup. It's just a little bit, you don't need a lot. And you're gonna take your paintbrush. You only need just a little bit of this. You don't wanna like dunk your brush in there because a little goes a long way. If anybody has like oil painted before, you'll know what I mean. I'm gonna hold this closer to the camera and show you. So you can see once I start painting, it like turns it into paint and you can start moving it around a little bit. You can also use the mineral spirits to clean your brush. So I'm gonna clean my brush because I don't want too much of this orangey color in the pink. And I'm just dabbing it on my paper towel. And then I'm going in here. Kind of making it look a little bit watercolory. And this will look cool because it's going to be like a sunset. And then I'm taking my brush up to the edge where I drew that line. That's what my rock looks like. Kind of impressionistic. And then I'm going to take my blue and start drawing the water. Cleaning my brush, making sure I get all the color off. And then going back in and blending that blue. So it looks just like watercolor. This is one of my favorite techniques with oil pastels. And this should dry pretty quickly. And then in my original one, I put like a little sun or a moon down here, and then more like stars in the sky. And I did that with the same gesso that I used earlier. So we'll go over what we colored and add final little details with the gesso. And again, the gesso is really nice for this because it's thick and opaque, and it'll sit on top of what we just colored. So there's my little sun or moon. And then I'm gonna put little stars in the sky because I love a dreamy sunset. And then it's nice to go into the ocean and kind of do some highlights, like just some horizontal lines. It could be like the water is moving, some waves. I think that's pretty. So that was one technique with the oil pastels and the mineral spirits. I would love to find this rock outside. So I'm going to show you another technique. We're going to be blending with the paper stumps. So I have a couple. I have some little ones, and then I have a big one. And since I did a star before, I'm going to do a moon to go with this one. So I'm just going to sketch out with my pencil. And I'll put a smiley face on it when I'm done. Just a light sketch. You don't want to draw anything too dark. So on my moon, is this lighting okay? Should I make it a little bit brighter? Is that better?
That's good, Kathleen.
Okay. So I'm going to color in my moon, and I'm starting with pink on the one side because I like pink. It'll be dramatic. So I have pink, and then I'm going to fill the rest in with this yellow. And then in the center, I want to do a little bit of a highlight. So I'm going to put less pigment there for the area that I want lighter. So you can see this doesn't look too neat yet, but we can get into more detail with our blender. And these things are cheap at Michael's. They're like $1. And you just blend it in. This is nice because you can get into like lots of little details with this. So this is really nice for the corners of my moon and making the edge look really nice. And you can rub these colors together. And then I haven't done the highlight yet. You can clean off your blending stump by just rubbing it on your paper towel. And then that'll get most of the pigment off so that you're not spreading color where you don't want it. I find that helps me get the results that I want. Okay, I think that looks nice. And so I'm gonna put the sky in now. So I'm gonna start with like this purpley blue, this dark purple, and then we'll add other colors on top later. I'm just gonna fill in the background. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna move it around with the paper blender. And if you guys don't have a paper blender, you can also blend with your fingers. It'll be harder to get into the little tiny areas, but it'll still work. You can still move the oil pastels around with your finger. And you can see I'm not getting too close to my moon because I want to get in with my paper blender and make it look a little bit cleaner with that. And then I'm going to clean my paper blender off. Make sure I get all the pigment off from my moon. And then blend with this guy. Yeah, tortillas. I hope I said that right. So just smoothing everything out. And you can push that purple color closer. I didn't see it from the beginning. The white background of the rocks is from pastel colors. I gessoed these rocks first. So I used this white gesso. I painted it on first. How hard are you pressing down for blending? Not too hard. It moves pretty easily. But the gesso gives us a nice background. I've tried other paints to prime these. When I was prepping for this class, I thought I could use tempera paint, and that was a big mistake because my oil pastels did not look very nice on top of it. So the gesso is really the way to go. Unless you want to color directly on top of the rock. If you find like a lighter color rock that would show up nicely. I'm going to go a little bit closer. If you roll your pastels onto like part of the edge, you can get a little bit more detail. Cool. You can see on this one, I blended a couple of colors together for this. So I'm going to go ahead and add some black on top of this. Black is usually the color I like to use last because it can go everywhere. If your isn't new and the edges are rounded, how do you make it sharp again? You could always, so if one side is dull, you could try and flip it over on the other side. Or if you've been coloring a lot, you can kind of make a new edge. Or if you want, you could use the mineral spirits like we did in our last technique if you want to some tinier areas. I kind of want to make my moon to really pop, and that's why I'm going around it with the black, is that so it'll really show up well. And so I'm just doing a rough line because mine is used.
Kathleen, if you made a mistake, can you gesso over the oil pastel and start again? Or would you just want to dissolve everything with mineral spirits?
You could try and wipe it off and see how much you can get off. I would do a combination of both. If you can't rub all of it off with a paper towel, I would use some mineral spirits or oil thinner, and that'll definitely get everything off. But I would try wiping it first if you feel like you made a mistake. Or, you know what you could also use is like a sharp edge. Like, so I have this art knife, which you could use to scrape oil pastel off. If you don't have one of these, you could use a toothpick or anything that's a little bit clear, and that would be able to scrape off your oil pastel as well. That's a good question. And so I just added a little bit of black. I feel like black goes a long way. I'm gonna blend it. And you don't want to press too hard. There's my moon. I like it. I'm gonna blend some other colors too. I wish there was a blue in here. And these are layering really nicely. I've put down like 3 colors now. You know, once I blended the first 2 colors, this color is going on really well. There's my moon. And I'm gonna put a face on it, just like my star. So I put this face on with oil pastels, using the same technique we did for the other rock. I'm gonna take my paintbrush and I'm gonna use a smaller paintbrush. And I'm gonna dip it in the mineral spirits. And I just dipped my brush. And I'm gonna just kind of pick up a little bit of pigment from the oil pastel, just like that. And I'm gonna draw a face on. I added a little bit more oil. I want his face to be a little bit darker. Hey, I have a happy moon. There's that, and I might give him some pink cheeks too, just a little bit. I don't want to ruin it. And then I added these little stars with a little bit of gesso. So I'll clean off my brush. Do you need to seal the design after completion? You know what, oil? Yes, the answer is yes. I'll talk about it while I'm adding these little dots for stars. So oil pastels, because they're oil, they're naturally gonna, water isn't gonna permeate through it, but I do recommend coating your rocks, and I'll show you what I have. Let me finish my stars. Cute. Now I have a star and a moon. So I use this stuff, and I got this at Michael's. It's the Krylon UV resistant clear acrylic coating. It's a spray, and it's a little stinky, so I recommend doing it outside in the yard. But this is really nice. And this one I coated with it. It gives it a little bit of a sheen, but you're not going to see a huge difference in the overall look of it. So your rock will look the same, but it'll just give it a little protective coating so it will stand the weather a little bit better outside. You have any more questions? Okay. So we just did the paper blender. And then next I'm going to show you how to do some Sgraffito. Can we put some glitter on top before it seals? That's a cool idea. I like that. I might glue it. I might use some glue before you coat it with the seal so it doesn't fall off. How many coats of it? I gave it a couple of coats. I was very light with it, but I did at least 3 coats with this because the coating it's not like I'm using Mod Podge or like a heavy glue. So that's why I did a couple of coats. with it because the spray glue does go on a little thinner and more evenly. Okay. So since we're doing Sgraffito next, I'm gonna put a bunch of colors on this. I'm gonna do another blend on here, like a gradient with the oil pastels. My favorite color is pink, so I did pink, and then I'll do a purple. And then after we put these colors down, I'm gonna add black on top of that. I know that sounds scary, but it's not that scary, I promise. It's gonna look really cool. Okay, so I did these pretty colors. And I'm gonna blend it a little bit too, just so it's a little bit more even. Cleaning off my blender. And that'll kind of just get rid of like some of these little white dots that are just some of the little imperfections in the rock. So blending this so it's a little bit more of an even coat. Okay. Now the scary part. I'm gonna add the black on top. I'm gonna color over all of it. Okay. So now that I coated it in the black color, you could use like a toothpick or like I have this knife, probably not safe for the little kids. So something like this is nice, or a toothpick works. And what should I do? I'm gonna do a heart. So you can kind of, you see I'm scratching into it. It's just like scratch board. And then you'll see the color underneath. Kind of like a chalkboard technique almost. And I find this works better with only one coat of gesso. I did an oopsie rock, and I went over with gesso, and then I tried to do Sgraffito, and it pulled up my second layer of gesso. I'll show you guys what it looks like. It's not very pretty, but you can kind of see this was my mistake. Was you could see I colored purple first, and then I didn't like it, so I gessoed over it. and then I started scratching away, and then it started peeling up my second layer of gesso. So if you're doing this Sgraffito, I would recommend just one layer of gesso. But this is kind of cool because you can see the colors that you scratched off. You scratch off the black and you can kind of see the purple and the blue that I did underneath. That's cool. Is there anything you guys want me to go over again? Any of those techniques that I should do a second time? I don't see much color. Yeah, you scrape off some of it. You can still see like the purple is down here. One coat of gesso, how long is drying time? Here's the one I did earlier. I think I painted on it. The gesso doesn't take really long to dry. It should dry within 10 minutes. Can you seal over color changing paint? I'm not sure. I would have to test that, but I bet you could. That would be really fun too. I love color changing paint. Okay, I'm gonna draw a pizza this time.
Kathleen, can you please provide the name of the Krylon spray that you used?
Yeah, so I am using the Krylon UV resistant clear acrylic coating. And it's a little stinky, so I recommend going outside for this. I'm just sketching my drawing really quick. Just a light pencil sketch. Hold on, there you can see it. It's not that dark. So if you're using a sketching pencil, an HB pencil would be great, but nothing too dark. But this is a really fun way to use your oil pastels. If you ever wonder, what can I do with these? I bought them and I have no idea what to do with my oil pastels. I think this is a really fun way to use them. I'm just using this to blend. Paper stump, you can combine all of these techniques if you want. My favorite is using the mineral spirits.
Kathleen, can you let us know where you found your rocks?
So I got my rocks. Well, we have a rock kit at work. Our rock painting for creativity for kids that comes with acrylic paint. So I have access to all sorts of flat rocks. But if you don't, river rocks are really nice. Like if you go to the woods or something, if like anything that would be a nice skipping stone would be a really good rock to paint. But anything that's smooth. You can also, I think that Michael sells smooth rocks in the store too, isn't that correct?
I want to say yes.
Ooh, Home Depot or Lowe's. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's smart though. And then I know some people write messages on the back of their rocks as well. I've seen a couple of those in the park. I think that's really cool. Some people track them. Yeah, I'm drawing a pizza. Sorry, guys. Drawing a slice of pizza, and then I'm gonna put a cute face on him. That's right, it is Friday. Pizza's my favorite food. I had to draw it. Can you use acrylic paints and seal with spray afterwards? Yeah, of course. Acrylic paint will work really well on the rocks. I would still prime it with gesso though. So the color of your paints looks really vibrant. And then I'm gonna go in with his face a little bit. I drew this guy with a big mouth, big smiley mouth.
Kathleen, is there a specific brand of acrylic that you recommend for this?
I don't have a recommendation for acrylic paint. I'm sure that Michael's has an artist loft that would probably be good. And then what I like about these paper blenders is you can kind of clean up your drawing a little bit. This pepperoni. Apple blossom. Is that a paint? I haven't tried that. I'll have to try it. Thank you. Where do I get apple blossom? Is that on Amazon? Cool. There we go. Maybe I'll do an outline too. Oh, apple barrel. Oh, okay. There's my pizza. I'm gonna give it some rosy cheeks. You know, if you notice that you get a color that rubbed off on your pastel, you can just rub your pastel on a piece of paper, paper towel, and it'll clean it off. You can see I smushed a little bit. I'm gonna clean this up. Yeah, pizza looks amazing. Thank you. It's making me hungry for pizza now. Clean up his face a little bit. And then I did a little heart-shaped pepperoni. Cute. I love that. And then we should do a background. I'm gonna draw some silverware. So I think this is my favorite technique, using a brush to pick up color right on oil pastel. This works really good. All right, I'm gonna draw a fork. I feel like that's not showing up really well. You can also use your paper blender directly on the oil pastel if you want to pick up more pigment. If you find that you get like a crumbly or something that comes off of your pastel, they all stick to each other. So you can use your paper blender to pick it up if you want, to kind of clear off the space, and that way you don't smudge your colors. Yeah, I use a fork for my pizza, I'm sorry. Cute. I'll do a knife too. Okay, there's my fork and knife. There's my pizza. And we're getting close to the end of our class. Are there any other questions? Music themed rocks, that's cool. Have you tried using a silicone brush for blending colors? I might have one. We can try really quick. I have one for face masks. Brush recommendations. I don't spend a lot of money on my brushes. I know there's really nice brushes, but I always get mine yucky. So the cheap ones, that's my brush recommendation. The cheap brushes. I always forget to wash them or something. Oops. So when I started blending, I got some crumblies. So You can just pick those up and wipe them off to keep your drawing looking nice. Artist loft brushes, yeah, I would recommend those. There's my pizza. Let me turn that off. There you can see it a little bit better. My pizza rock. Here's the sunset. Here's a little moon. I'll put these outside this weekend. Are there any other questions, guys? I hope everybody had fun. Thanks, everybody.
Great job, Kathleen. Thank you so much.